Hi there. I'm going to show you what you're going to be doing for this exercise this week with regards to the element of value. And what I would like you to do, and these instructions are on the document provided, but I'm going to go through this for you in a couple of steps so that you can kind of break up this work over the 2 days that I've assigned this on a blank piece of paper. And if you should have a piece of this, or ask your cohort teacher or look around your house, please, for a blank piece of paper that you are going to fold in half. Okay, so you can see I've folded this in half because on the top half, you're going to concentrate on creating value scales. Now, you can see that I've set up my paper, and I will have a picture of this on the document for you to look at as well. But you're going to be making a few value scales. Now, a value scale is showing value from light to dark. Okay, so in this first value scale, you have a 6-step value scale. Now you're going to need a ruler, you're going to need your ebony pencil, and you're going to need a regular pencil for this. Okay, so the ruler, which again you should have had in your supply kit, I simply used the width of it to trace along the top and on the bottom. And then I also used the width to measure or to trace 6 squares across. So this is a 6-step value scale. I've labeled the first 2 as highlights. I've labeled the middle 2 as midtones and the last 2 as shadows. And you watched this in a video on the digital art notebook, so you should be familiar with these terms. Now on this first scale, you're going to use your ebony pencil. Okay, ebony pencil is really soft lead. You don't have to push very hard, and you can make it pretty dark in value. To make a light value with these 2 highlights, notice how I'm holding my pencil really far back, and I'm holding it very loosely, because you want to very carefully, very lightly, with the side of the lead, color to create the lightest value that you possibly can with this pencil. I'm kind of balancing my pinky finger here just so that I can keep it even and steady, keeping this as light as I possibly can. So a highlight is the lightest value. Now in the next box, you want it to get a little darker and a little darker as you go through the scale. You want these 6 squares to look different in value. So in the next one, I'm going to just do what I did on the first one. I'm just going to continue what I was doing in the first square. So right now they look the same, but in order to make this a little darker, I'm just putting a second layer on it. So I'm not really pushing harder, but I'm putting a second layer down, which will just kind of easily increase the value. Okay, I'm still keeping it pretty light, but I'm increasing the value. If you're not sure that these look different, in your opinion, squint your eyes at it. When you're looking at these 2 together, squint your eyes. And if you're squinting, you can see that this one's slightly darker than that one. If you don't think there's a difference, go ahead and add a little bit more. Just use your judgment. Don't stop too soon. Actually look and see what you're doing. Assess the situation. Okay, so and then the same thing, you can push a little harder, or you can layer maybe up to 3 layers when you get to the midtone range. Okay. And just kind of take your time, go slow with it so that you're not rushing, so that it doesn't look streaky. Okay. Craftsmanship is something that we're keeping an eye on, that you should be practicing and getting used to doing something well crafted in this class. This 4th scale, again, I'm layering about 4 times, but I'm also pushing harder. Yeah, make sure you see a difference. If you can't see a difference between the 3rd and the 4th, then I can't either. And then finally the shadows. The shadows are the darkest values. Again, you can layer 5 or 6 times here, and you probably want to be pushing harder with this ebony. You don't have to push too hard because it's, again, a soft lead, and it gets pretty dark pretty easily. That's what these are for. These are for shading. Okay, and there's a difference there. And then this last one can be the darkest. Okay, in my opinion, the last shadow, the darkest value, is the easiest to do because you simply push hard. The hardest ones to do are these middle ones. So when you're finished, really look and assess the situation. Were you able to create 6 different values on this 6-step scale? Okay, that's part 1 of the value scales. Now part 2 of the value scales are these 2 little scales that I've drawn. Again, I set them up the same way with the ruler and with my number 2 pencil. But this time you're going to use this Sharpie marker that you have in your kit. Okay, and on this left scale, you're going to do what's called stippling. You saw these again in the video in the digital art notebook on value. Stippling, and in this scale, we're going to do cross hatching. All right, now stippling, we're going to use the thin side of this marker, okay, the thin point. Stippling involves using dots to create value. So for a light value, using stippling, gently push down with the pen. Don't jam it down. You're going to ruin the tip if you do that. But keep the dots spread out. Now I can't push harder, but to create a darker value or a middle value with stippling, you want more dots closer together. So they're just kind of randomly placed. They're not placed in a neat line. They're just kind of randomly placed in the space. But to make this value appear darker than the first one, you need to have more dots. Easy as that. Just fill them in, more dots. And then when you squint, you should see that this appears a little darker than that one. And then finally, the last one, again, more dots closer together. That's all you got to do. More dots closer together. Again, be careful of the tip so you don't ruin it. You don't have to push really hard or go really fast. This does get a little tedious, I'm sure, at the end here, doing all these dots. It is kind of mindless, so at least you can just give your brain a break and just make dots. Okay? But the closer these are, the darker this area will look in value. Okay? Now, the cross hatching, same thing. Okay, except with cross hatching, we're using crisscross lines. I like crisscrossing them diagonally. It just feels comfortable for me. Okay, but this first light value, they're spread apart. For the middle value, similar to what we did with the stippling, we made these lines closer together, more of them closer together. We're not making them thicker. We're not pushing harder with this marker because we can't and we shouldn't, because again, that'll ruin the tip. But we're making them closer together. And you can see how that makes the value appear darker. And the last one, of course, these lines can be super close together, almost on top of each other if necessary. And again, if you don't see a difference from light, middle, and dark values that you're trying to create here, then I won't. Okay? You're getting 6 points for this. You're getting 3 points for this. You're getting 3 points for this. Okay? This ends part 1 of your value scales. All right, now part 2 of this shading project here, this shading activity using the element of value. Again, we finished our value scales. So I folded the paper in half, and on the bottom half, I want you to draw 6 lines. Okay, and these lines, you can start here at the bottom, go across your paper. They can run into each other, but they're meant to represent mountains. Okay, we're kind of making a mountainous landscape here with these 6 lines. Okay, there's that one, and then that one, and then I drew that one. So just kind of be creative with it. Doesn't have to be really elaborate. It can be pretty simple. But we're making this landscape scene, and we're going to be shading this landscape scene with our ebony pencils to create, again, a range of value from light to dark. Okay, so in landscapes, the farther something away something is, the lighter it is, the less distinguishable, the less clear. Okay, so in landscapes, things farther away tend to be the lightest. So in this uppermost mountain, okay, I'm going to shade that with my lightest value. Okay, and again, remember to hold your pencil lightly. I kind of, again, hold it on the back side of the pencil so I can control it. Again, shade kind of slowly and neatly so that you can always practice good craftsmanship. Be very deliberate in what you're doing, because folks, it's very obvious, those of you that really try to take your time and learn these new techniques versus someone who just throws something on the paper last minute. So keep that in mind, that, we do expect you to try your best, take your time. Things don't work out well the first time, you could always try it again, or, as long as we know that you're trying, that goes a long way, especially in art foundations. Okay, so that's my lightest value. Now, remember on the value scale, the second box was just a continuation of the first, but we layered it twice. Instead of just one layer of pencil here, we layered it twice. So to make this second mountain appear darker, you can layer it a second time. So you can see here that this is becoming darker than that first one. And so this is called contrast. And if there's not a contrast between the first value and the second value, then these 6 mountain ranges that you've drawn on your paper are not going to show up. So just like in the value scale, the 6-step value scale, where I wanted you to create 6 distinct values from light to dark, you're doing the same thing here along this mountain range. Okay, and it's gradually getting darker as you work your way down to this bottom mountain. Okay, now I'm not going to continue here in the video. I'll post an example on the document provided so you can see the finished product. But again, take your time. If you have any issues or problems with any of these parts of the assignment, please make sure you're emailing your teacher, emailing me, letting me know how I can help you. When you're finished, you're going to be taking a picture of your work, uploading it onto the document provided, and turning it in. You have 2 days to do this, so budget your time. Do a little bit here, a little bit there. Watch the video as often as you need to watch it to help you do this well.